Please come to order. Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County meeting this date, Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. I am Randy Guy, President of Commissioners of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown and Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, Mr. John O'Connor.
Good morning.
Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, and Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Todd Morgan. David Weiskopf, Interim County Administrator, is sitting at the table to my left.
Morning.
Elisa Cassis, our Communications Director, is sitting at the table to my right.
Good morning.
Amy Carter, our video media producer, is behind the glass. Please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. When you come to the presenter's table, please approach by coming down the center aisle. And remember, this meeting is being televised, so you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. So in other words, look good. At this time, we'll have an invocation and pledge by Commissioner Hewitt. Please stand.
Okay, something different my wife came up with. Autumn praise. I praise you, Lord, for autumn, for falling temperatures and morning chill. Trees turn gold and red, brown, and orange. Falling leaves and blowing leaves. The smell of burning leaves, the joy of leaf pile jumping. I praise you, Lord, for autumn, the interplay of outside temperatures and inside warmth, the promise of cider and pumpkin bread, the blessings of blankets and sweaters. I praise you, Lord, for autumn, the beauty and hope in the change of season, the promise that the coming of autumn heralds another ending, a new beginning, and the wonder of another winter, another spring, another summer yet to come. All this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. Please seat. At this time, we need approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
At first, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have numerous proclamations, and Commissioners, we need to go up to the front here. We'll start off with Commissioner Hewitt and the 4-H, National 4-H Week.
Hey guys, come up. All you boys.
We're here. You guys love that boat. I can run front of it.
Yeah.
Look,
Inside.
you go.
1, 2, 3, 4 boys. Okay, this proclamation is being accepted by Susan Vallandingham, 4-H educator, Barbara Dobbins, program management specialist, Levi Vallandingham, Colby Vallandingham, Ernest Kernshaw, Leroy Kernshaw, and Kathy Kernshaw. Whereas the week of October 2nd through 8th, 2022, marks the 80th annual 4-H Week celebration and provides an opportunity for all of us to join together and raise public awareness of this century-old institution serving the young people of our nation and our county. And whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far, 4-H helps approximately 450 youth in St. Mary's County to become confident, independent, resilient, and passionate leaders by providing experiences where young people learn through hands-on projects and programs in health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in St. Mary's County who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim the week of October 2nd through 8th, 2022, National 4-H Week, and this year's theme, Opportunity for All, to encourage all citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact they have made and continue to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime. Now, Susan's been very active in 4-H and her boys and everybody up here. And I knew her late husband and her grandfather. Wonderful people, great farmers, well-known throughout the community. Now, she has her son Levi here today, but I would like to mention Trent, his older brother. Trent had the steer that won first prize at the county fair, 1,412 pounds. The big, also had what, the mixed breed, I think it was 1,222 pounds. These people are farmers. But Trent, I'd like to say a couple words about what you do. What did you have at the fair?
I had 2 sheep, 2 goats, and 2 pigs.
And what else do you do? What about bees?
I collect honey from the bees, and soon I might be able to collect some wax for to make wax candles.
Good idea. This is Colby, right? Now, what'd you have in the fair?
I had 1 pig and 1 goat.
Now, what else did you do? What about your canning? What did you do?
I canned some beans and made some peach jam.
Wow, these kids know what they're doing. What about you? What'd you have?
I had a woodcraft and tannin and goats and rabbits.
Wow, that's a lot, too. Now, you didn't want to talk before. You want to talk now? Not yet. Susan, let me let you speak.
We'd like to thank you guys for your continued support of our program where the kids are learning by doing. We'd also like to thank the community for always supporting us, and especially at the fair for the 4-H livestock auction this past, a couple weeks ago. It was a huge success, so thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Hi, I just want to say thank you also. The kids love our program and always learn to do public speaking and become leaders as they get older and good citizens.
And not but least.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm the leader at Tudor Hall. We meet here in Leonardtown at the fairgrounds. Thank you for having us.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks so much for self-supporting and independent, great kids.
All right, everyone, big smiles. Perfect.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have the White Cane Awareness Day and Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you. Ms. Birch, how are you? Good. Good morning, everyone. Whereas the white cane, which every blind citizen of our county has the right to carry, demonstrates and symbolizes the ability to achieve a full and independent life and the capacity to work productively in competitive employment. Whereas the white cane, by allowing every blind person to move freely and safely from place to place, makes it possible for the blind to fully participate in and contribute to our society and to live the lives they want. And whereas every citizen should be aware of the law that requires the motorists and cyclists exercise appropriate caution when approaching a blind person carrying a white cane, And whereas Maryland law also calls upon employees, both public and private, to be aware of and utilize the employment skills of our blind citizens by recognizing their worth as individuals and their productive capacities. And whereas the state of Maryland, through its public agencies and with the cooperative assistance of the National Federation of the Blind of Maryland, can and should facilitate the expansion of employment opportunities for and greater acceptance of blind persons in the competitive labor market. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do here proclaim proclaim October 15, 2022, White Cane Awareness Day, and do call upon all of our schools to offer full opportunities for training to blind persons, upon employers and the public to utilize the available skills of competent blind persons, and to open new opportunities for the blind in our rapidly changing society, and upon all citizens to recognize the white cane as a tool of independence for the blind pedestrians and our streets and on our streets and highways. Presented today, St. Mary's County Commissioners.
As a mother of a son with is vision impaired, I'm appreciative that I get this for the National Federation for the Blind. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Birch.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Now, next we have the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And for that, we have Ms. Cynthia Brown is here from our Human Services Division Manager, Department of Aging and Home Services, Stephanie Freeman, Violence, Injury, and Trauma Team of the Health Department, Taylor Spencer Davis. Are you here? Is she here?
I haven't seen Taylor.
Okay. Well, she's in the Family Advocacy Center. And then Norma Pipkin is our Commission for Women Chairman. The National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, this proclamation, whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, sex, ability, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion, and whereas children who grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a higher rate than the national average. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, physiological, and economic control and or abuse, including abuse to spouses, children, and the elderly. And whereas a confidential, coordinated community response via the St. Mary's County Family Violence Coordinating Council, inclusive of such organizations as Southern Maryland Family Advocacy Center, St. Mary's MedStar Hospital, St. Mary's County Department of Social Services, St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office and State Police, Three Oaks Center, and the Commission for Women is available to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, and sexual assault. Now, therefore, in recognition of the vital work being done by the St. Mary's County Commission for Women and St. Mary's County Family Advocacy Violence Coordinating Council, we, the Commission of St. Mary's County, Maryland, do hereby proclaim the month of October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to work toward improving victim safety and raising public awareness about how to prevent, recognize, and stop domestic violence. This has been going on forever. I was a deputy sheriff in this county in 69, 70. I guarantee 1/3 of my calls were for domestic violence. And I hate to say this, but one really horrifying thing that I witnessed, there was a place up in Callaway called Happy Land. Right down below there was a bunch of small houses. And I got called there one night, and this lady literally was scalped by her boyfriend. Literally, she was laying on the couch with her head, and her scalp pulled back. I pulled it back on top of it, put a pillow on it, and told her grandmother, who was there to hold it against her head. At the same time, I was out there at the crowd trying to figure out who did it. Unluckily, the guy that did it was right behind me. I didn't even know this, with a knife, actually a carpet knife, still in his back pocket. Luckily, the state police pulled right up behind him and grabbed him and threw him on top of my car and handcuffed him. But that was one of the most worst ones, but there was numerous others, and I can't believe that we still have this going on so rapidly around our community. But we have to do everything. I'm appreciative of all the people who work hard to do all this to stop, at least, I say, slow it down somehow. But thank you all very much for being here today. Norma, give it to you first.
Well, good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for having us here. As you know, domestic violence is in all segments of our community. It's not their problem, it's our problem. The effects of domestic violence, as you have already told us about, is in all parts of our society: law enforcement, healthcare, in our schools and in our families, and its long-term effects. It's a pervasive problem in our community that's an underreported crime. The Commission for Women is dedicated to prevention through education and awareness, through building partnerships and advocating for resources. And we're delighted to be a part of the Family Violence Coordinating Council, as well as the Healthy St. Mary's Partnership. Some of our friends could not be with us this morning, some of our partners, but we do have an event planned for later in the month. It will be at the Lexington Park Library, October 26th, and the title of the event is what we often hear: why don't they just leave? So we're going to have some experts there to talk to us about why victims of domestic violence don't just leave and some of the challenges that they face. And we hope that you'll join us at the Lexington Park Library on October 26th. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for this important proclamation. I think the only thing that I could add to what Norma has already said is that all of the agencies listed in the proclamation are key to bringing the needed services and programs to our community. But I've had the pleasure of working with the Commission for Women as a volunteer board for many years, and they continue to work to increase awareness and education about how these services can be accessed, and to also reduce, unfortunately, the stigma and the shame that still surrounds this issue. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you. We're out to the community. If you got a problem or somebody got a problem, please contact one of these agencies to help you out. Thank you. Got a photo op coming up here? Thank you, ladies. Thank you for all your efforts. Thank you. Thank you very much for your continued support. Next, we have Commissioner Colvin's going to present the Case Management Recognition Week. I think Ms. Lauren Jennings Harris is going to be accepting, or Rebecca Kiesler. And then others who might be involved with social services, please come forward.
Well, thank you all for being here with us this morning for Case Management Recognition Week. Whereas case management is a collective process of assessment, planning, facilitation, care coordination, evaluation, and advocacy for options and services to meet an individual's and family's comprehensive health needs through communication and available resources to promote safety, quality of care, and cost-effective outcomes. And whereas Case Management Recognition Week is an opportunity to spotlight case managers and caseworkers in St. Mary's County and the value of their service to the community. And whereas case managers and caseworkers in St. Mary's County work tirelessly to ensure populations in need in the community and in long-term care settings have advocates and access to services. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim the week of October 9th through 15th to be Case Management Recognition Week. Now, I know this is a job for many people, but it's also a calling, it's a dedication, and I just want to thank you all, and I'm sure you have some comments to share.
I'll start. Thank you, Commissioner Colvin. Thank you, Commissioners. So, as pointed out in the proclamation, this is very important work, and I started my career as a case worker, case manager, helping people going into their homes and coordinating programs and services for them. It was and still is very important work. We continue to do that work in the Department of Aging and Human Services. Rebecca Kessler is the Division Manager for Home and Community-Based Services and supervises a number of staff who are caseworkers. We also have representatives from the Department of Social Services. We work in collaboration cooperatively with them to ensure people in the community have what they need to remain in the community. Also, hospitals, long-term care, caseworkers, case managers, we want to recognize them as well. Either of you want to? Michelle.
Good morning. I just want to say I absolutely love serving the seniors of St. Maurice County. It's more than a job to me. It's just a pleasure to come to work each day and see the smiles on their faces. They're just a very grateful set of people. You know, they appreciate everything we do for them, and I just enjoy my job.
Get some pictures now. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's it. That's it. Let's see. We're probably going to take a recess. It's not.
We could either do that or take the 9:45 item.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the 9:45, which is the Office of County Attorney.
Apologies, Mr. Willenborg and Joe Densford are going to be here at 9:45.
Oh, okay. So wait for that too. Okay, well let's take a 5-minute recess because we can't start a public hearing until 9:30.
Certainly.
Recess for 5 minutes. Have attention, please. Recess is over. We're ready to go into our main agenda item, a Office of County Attorney request for public hearing, St. Mary's County, Department of Land Use and Growth Management, public hearing, solar ordinance text amendment. Mr. Hunt, Director, and Mr. Hauser, our Assistant County Attorney.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Weisskopf, thank you very much. I'm appearing in front of this public hearing, which is called to receive public comment to consider an amendment to the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance for solar major projects in the RPD on properties having farmland of statewide importance soils, prime agricultural soils, or other environmentally sensitive areas. On March 1st of this year, the Commissioners adopted a solar use ordinance. The adopted ordinance prohibits freestanding solar panels for a solar major project from being located in prime agricultural soils and farmland of statewide importance in the RPD. Solar farms of freestanding solar panels are desirable for producing renewable energy, and there is also a state requirement for counties to contribute to the state goal for producing renewable energy. St. Mary's County is committed to allowing areas for the development of solar panel projects and protecting the environmental resources on properties where solar panels are proposed. A property that is desirable for a solar major project because it has degraded or contaminated soils may also have agriculturally important soils that cannot be avoided for the construction of freestanding solar panels if there is to be a viable project of freestanding solar panels. The proposed text amendment will allow a solar major project on a site in the RPD that has prime agricultural soils, farmland of statewide importance, or other environmental sensitive areas when conditional approval is given by the Board of Appeals. I have a short PowerPoint if I may show it. Thank you. As stated, this is an ordinance that would require conditional use approval in certain situations for major solar projects. Next. The Commissioners adopted the current ordinance in March of this year, as I stated. Preferred locations for solar major projects. This was determined or found by the Solar Task Force that was appointed by the Commissioners. The preferred locations include degraded and contaminated sites, landfills, county-owned properties, parking lots, and rooftops. Also, there are areas to avoid, which include ecologically sensitive areas such as wetlands, prime agricultural lands and forests, and properties not compatible with the Navy mission. At the February 2022 public hearing and during the open record period for the proposed solar use ordinance, stakeholder groups provided recommendations for changes to the proposed ordinance at that time. The recommendations included in the solar ordinance that came from the public input included a prohibition for solar major projects on prime agricultural soils and on farmland of statewide importance soils. The adopted solar use ordinance does not allow freestanding solar panels to be located on these soils just mentioned. Prime agricultural soils from the U.S. Department of Agriculture have the best combination of physical and chemical characteristics for producing food, feed, forage, fiber, and oilseed crops. These can include cultivated land, pasture, or forested properties. The land has few or no rocks. It's permeable with adequate water from precipitation or irrigation. Next. Located in an area with a favorable temperature and growing season, acceptable acidity or alkalinity, not excessively erodible or saturated with water for long periods of time, and the slopes are mainly 0 to 6%. Farmland of statewide importance soils basically meet the requirements just stated. They produce high yields of crops when managed according to acceptable farming methods. In some cases, they may produce as high a yield as prime farmland, but they don't have all the qualifications or characteristics of the prime agricultural soils. The proposed amendment to the solar use ordinance will allow freestanding solar panels on prime agricultural soils and farmland of statewide importance soils and impact wetlands, habitat protection areas, or other natural resources or environmentally sensitive areas if conditional use approval is granted by the Board of Appeals, and this is followed by concept site plan approval from the Planning Commission. The proposed amendment takes into consideration the site may have degraded or contaminated areas and protected soils. Conditional use review by the Board of Appeals will allow public debate on the necessity of construction of freestanding solar panels on protected soils. The proposed amendment and notice of this public hearing were sent to the members of the Solar Task Force and residents and organizations that had expressed interest or commented on the initial solar use ordinance. Before this public hearing today, we received written comments from Southern Maryland Resource Conservation and Development and the Patuxent Tidewater Land Use Trust. And those are included in board docs because they were received before the deadline that we have to get things posted on board docs. Mr. James K. Raley, president of the St. Mary's County Farm Bureau, sent a letter and suggested changes that were received on Monday. The commissioners all received copies of his letter with the recommendations as I understand it, and Mr. Raley is in attendance. Are there any questions for me or Mr. Hauser?
I do, Mr. Hunt. Could you go back to, I think when we look at slide number 3, Alyssa, please.
Sir.
When we look at what's going on, I think you made it clear that the reason we're here to do this is because the state is mandating a requirement of solar panels for each county to ascribe to. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And when we formed the Solar Task Force, one of the things we wanted to do was obviously attempt as best we could to comply with the state requirement and simultaneously use those areas that would be most advantageous without hurting our farmlands.
Yes, sir, that's true.
When you look at slide 3, those seem to be the most logical places to put these solar sites.
That is true. That's the finding of the Solar Task Force.
So is it possible to say these are the only places you can put them and then get rid of all, worrying about the farmland and the agriculture and the soil and the conditional uses and all that?
I believe that would be a risky move because until we knew exactly what RPD properties might be involved, there might be these soils in certain bands across the property that would preclude a viable solar panel project of freestanding solar signs.
Well, if we look at degraded and contaminated site, we know the Morton Thiokol site is bad. We know that the wood treatment site is bad. They've been sitting vacant for years. I guess if we thought that there was viable soil, someone would be farming them after the 25 years I've been watching them just sit vacant and idle. I look at county property like the landfill, we're not going to be growing crops on top of the landfill. So why should we not just designate those sites as the places that we want these to be and not have to worry about going through all these other hoops?
The commissioners have the authority to do that, and if that's a direction that you would like to go, obviously legal and I can make a revision along those lines. What we would need to do is, I'm thinking based on an earlier proposal for use of some of these properties, is to make sure that we have accurate and complete data from both US EPA, which does Superfund sites, as well as state EPA, which does for brownfield sites or grayfield sites, and put those into a list and then limit solar major to those sites. But we would want to be sure that we had a complete list, or as complete as we could have, or make it a situation where anybody proposing a solar major project on something that hadn't been previously identified, we would leave it up to the applicant to have to identify that in fact we had missed that location and it does have contaminated soils. If I understood what you were suggesting, which was
trying to make it easier rather than finding a way to go back to the state and federal EPA and jump through hoops, which take years to get this in place so that we can work to meet our obligation. And I'm still waiting to hear what the audience has to say. I may be out in left field, right field, whatever you want to call it.
What I was referring to, sir, is there are published lists of brownfield and Superfund sites. That was the research that I was referring to that we would get and make that list. And then it would be up to somebody coming in with a site that somehow had escaped notice from EPA or US EPA to say that this property is contaminated and here's why, which I think is unlikely, because in St. Mary's County, we have a large resident population who are very familiar with the history of development within the county, but still that's a possibility, which is why I mentioned it.
I think the thing is nobody's looking to have their property made a brownfield due to the onerous process that is a part of it, even dealing with the brownfield project and how they designate those properties. So the list that's already there is quite comprehensive, spanning throughout the state. So if it's already on the list, then I guess it would qualify as what you're saying. So the onerous process of the EPA as well as the state brownfield project would not have to do anything further from there. It's only somebody that would come forward and say, I think this is a brownfield because I want to do solar, and at that point, then the research would have to go into it.
Yes, sir, thank you very much. That's
Okay.
what I tried to say.
Now, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it correctly. All right, good, perfect.
Mr. Hunt, I think one of the best things about this amendment, it contains a conditional use requirement. Now, what we've seen elsewhere is when we didn't have a conditional use, the neighbors didn't get to input on it, and they'll get to input on where these sites are. But I think the other thing that's important to keep in mind, it at least confuses me, I'll say, is that when we have a solar task force that identified sites that are potential brownfields, whether it be the Thiokol site, the wood treating plant site, other sites that they identified, that the state comes back and calls those prime agricultural soils. It doesn't make sense. There's a disconnect there. If they're prime agricultural soils, so that's a disconnect for me. How do we get to that juncture where we have something that's been viewed as a brownfield, but it's also called prime agricultural soils?
It goes back to the mapping of those soils. We have layers on our GIS map that have both prime ag soils and soils of farmland and state importance. There are two distinct layers that are available to click on so that you can look at the two properties that you just mentioned and then put on the soils layer, and you will see that on those sites, those soils do exist.
Yes, I guess what my point is that it's a conundrum, if that's even the term here, that we have brownfields that are prime agricultural soils. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But with that said, the conditional use portion of this allows neighbors, allows the public to have an opportunity to input before this is approved, and I think that's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
I think one of the things, based on what Commissioner Hewitt is saying, is that with the brownfields, they'll lay out several different uses for brownfields in conjunction with the brownfield effort in order to remediate them. And there could be in an area where there's prime agricultural soil if proper remediation was completed in accordance with the EPA and the brownfield project, or it can only be used for residential after that remediation is done. But you run down a process with the EPA and MDE where there has to be some sort of share in it with the government for the funds in order to do the actual cleanup to get to that base layer of soil. So I think that's where you can run into, is it truly brownfield, or if there's remediation, could that prime soil again be used based on the process that the EPA and the MDE would provide? So I don't know how you navigate that one in this entire thing, but good luck.
Any other questions, Commissioners? No. Okay, Mr. David Weiskopf will now provide the format for the public hearing. David?
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy. Here are the guidelines for the Commissioners of St. Mary's County public hearing for the Department of Land Use and Growth Management public hearing solar ordinance text amendment. All speakers who wish to address the Commissioners in person are asked to fill in the sign-up sheet located in the lobby of the Chesapeake Building. All speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to address the Commissioners. At the end of the 3 minutes, our Communications Director, Elisa Casas, will let you know your time has expired. We ask that you respect the 3-minute time limit in order to give all those who wish to participate an opportunity to be heard. This public hearing is being televised live on St. Mary's County Government TV 95 and the county's YouTube channel. If you should miss any part of this hearing, it will re-air on Channel 95 this Friday, October 7th at 7 p.m. and will remain available for on-demand viewing on the St. Mary's County Government YouTube channel. Citizens were provided an opportunity to address the commissioners via video submissions, but since we did not receive any submissions, we will now begin accepting comments for those who have signed up to speak in person. And I have a list right here, and we'll start off with Mr. Jamie Raley.
Morning, Commissioner.
Morning, Mr. Raley.
This thing on?
Yes, sir. And you can pull it out if it's more comfortable for you, sir.
Jamie Raley, representing the St. Mary's County Farm Bureau. The Bureau is located on Radio Station Way in Leonardtown. You have our written comments that were generated as a result of meeting from the Board of Directors on this issue. And I'd like to quickly address two main points of this zoning amendment proposal: conditional use and the soils issue. The conditional use was wholly supported by Farm Bureau. In fact, we think you should expand it to all of the zoning districts, all 19 of them. It will allow the public to have an opportunity to weigh in on any application for solar in any location in the county that's commercial utility scale solar, that is. And it will also allow you as elected officials to be able to respond to requests from the Public Service Commission, because once an application gets that far, they want to have input from county government as to whether the application is in harmony with the zoning ordinance and the county's comprehensive plan. So you'll have that information and be able to provide it. As to the soils issue, the soil profiles were established back in the 1930s after the Dust Bowl incident by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Coming forward to where we are today, Mr. Hunt's slide stated it very well about prime farmland and soils of statewide importance. But you have to realize those soils are under all the zoning districts. They're down in the Lexington Park Development District. That's just the way that the county was made back when geology occurred. The trick, though, is to keep those soils available as much as we can for forest and farm production. Now, when the Farm Bureau work group met back in January, and that was Ag, Seafood, Commission on the Environment, and the Historic Preservation Commission, we decided that we would go with a soil profile of a site versus trying to say whether it's farm or not, because we couldn't come up at the time with a definition for a farm. And the definition that they eventually came up with has a hole in it, because now Department of Assessment and Taxation comes on there and they start taxing stuff that's commercial if you have value-added property there. The Superfund site, it's got some. I think that the issue of the 619 acres over in Hillville is going to have more than 50% soil. Now, we're recommending if the site is 50% or less, that's a go. If it's 50% or more of these prime soils, that's a no-go. We didn't pull that number out of a hat. That comes again from the Natural Resource Conservation Service soil manual, and it's applied nationwide. Farm Bureau respects people's property and that they should be able to do with it what they want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt the neighbor or the community. So that's how we got that in there. But the workaround for you guys, for commissioners, is floating zone.
Mr. Raley, your time has expired. Would you please wrap up your remarks, sir?
Okay.
Thank you.
Let him finish, please.
Yes, sir.
My recommendation to you, and I spoke about this with Bill as a sidebar this morning, is I think under the land use article, the commissioners have the authority, and it's in the zoning ordinance, floating zones are in there, that you could get these degraded sites, contaminated sites, put them in as part of a floating zone, and then wherever they come up with, you could land that on there. And I don't think we'd really worry about whether it's prime or not prime, because it's degraded. And in that way, we would do our due diligence to protect the rest of the county and the comprehensive plan and guide this stuff, this commercial solar, to the sites where it would be most appropriate to be located. But, that's just me. That's all I got. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Raley. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Jane Kostenko.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'm an ardent environmentalist who actively supports solar development in St. Mary's County. However, absolutely not at the expense of forested or agricultural use, other important areas. The ordinance that we're discussing today has not even been in effect for a full year, and we're already looking to radically change the scope of it without having adequately utilized the areas that were specifically identified through what I would like to think was a rigorous public and, what are they called, stakeholder interest input. I vigorously oppose any amendments to this ordinance on the grounds that there are ample opportunities identified as currently available, and let's use those first, and then down the line, when someone's interest suddenly develops that they want to become a solar field, let's look at that way down the line after we've already utilized that which is available for us on the rooftops, the landfills, the other areas specifically identified. A couple with me who declined to comment also wanted to at least be recognized as also opposing this, so I don't know how appropriate this is, but I'd like them to be able to raise their hands so that they go on record at least as also opposing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Mr. James Tyler Bell. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
She summed it up pretty nicely. There's a lot of designated acreage that is suitable for solar, and once you start waiving the restrictions, I think it's a slippery slope. One thing that was not addressed was deforestation. I know the Jesuits had tried to implement some sort of a solar farm in Charles County recently on some very prime forest. And to me, that's one of the major concerns of waiving these restrictions is not just the farmland, but potentially just clear cutting for the sake of putting in solar panels. So I'm opposed to waiving any of the restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And next up is Ms. Teresa Wilson.
Good morning. I'm here representing myself, but I am a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. And all of the resources you're talking about are under a lot of things that we are concerned with, which are buildings and vistas. I think that the discussion of the soils is very important, and I think that the perspective is we have pressure that is coming to the county now about creating these commercial solar, and there's also the necessity to do it in a kind of orderly way so that the areas where it's supposed to go or should ideally be are chosen first. And then those things that come up later on as we have more experience with it will have to be evaluated, because as you said, if it's in a prime soil area, that's going to put it out if it's 50%, as Mr. Riley mentioned. And so these solar arrays, I don't know if you've been over on the Eastern Shore at all, but you know, they can pop up or are popping up in a lot of places, and they do have both positive effects and negative effects. And if there are too many, too close together, or just put willy-nilly anywhere, that is going to degrade from not only the farmland, but also from the historic and visual qualities of the county, which we depend on a lot because we are prime tourist area now. We really come up in that area, and we don't want to lose that and our historic tourism as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. And then we had 3 people that signed up but didn't want to speak. And then, Mr. Willenborg, did you?
I should be able to.
I didn't think so. You're the next. Certainly, certainly. So that ends all of the public comment period, Commissioner Guy.
Who else wants to speak?
Is there anyone else in the audience that would wish to speak? on this topic? No, sir. Thank you. Please note that the public comment period will remain open for 7 days until close of business on October 11th. Should the public wish to send an email, please send it to csmc@stmarysmd.com or U.S. mail to P.O. Box 653, Leonardtown, Maryland 20650. And Commissioner President Guy, that concludes our public hearing. But I would say that this was supposed to come back for a decision on October 18th, and it's my understanding we wish to do that on October 25th now. Is that okay for everybody?
Okay, thank you all for the attendance today. And remember, we got until the 25th of October to make other comments, write in, email. So it's very important that we make a right decision on this now. Thank you very much for your attention on this. Public hearing closed. Now we go right into the main agenda. The Office of the County Attorney request for public hearing, St. Mary's County Public Ethics Ordinance Revision. Mr. Sterling, Mr. Densford, and Mr. Willenberg, Chairman of the St. Mary's County Ethics Commission.
Good morning, Commissioner Guy. I'm John Hauser, Assistant County Attorney, flanked by Mr. David Willenborg, Chairman of the St. Mary's County Ethics Commission, and Mr. Joseph Densford, Independent Counsel to the St. Mary's County Ethics Commission.
Good morning.
The purpose of this item on the agenda is to request the commissioners go to a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the St. Mary's County Public Ethics Ordinance. The impetus for this request is in 2021, the General Assembly passed 2 pieces of legislation that mandated 9 mandatory changes that would have to be made to every local ethics provision. Those changes, summarized at greater detail in the information given to the commissioners prior to this meeting and available on board docs in short summary, are providing a definition of a quasi-governmental entity, prohibiting gifts except in certain small amounts or other exceptions from organizations that represent counties or municipalities in the General Assembly and in other bodies of state government. It prohibits disclosure of certain confidential information by former employees or public officials. It prohibits retaliation against any who report ethics violations. It prohibits the disclosure by the county of information regarding to certain consideration received from the University of Maryland Medical System, the state or local governmental entities, and quasi-governmental entities. It requires individuals who must file a financial disclosure to disclose the doing business as identifications, if any there are, for business entities that they must disclose on their forms. It requires disclosure of gifts received from certain organizations representing counties and municipalities. It requires a disclosure of relationships with the University of Maryland Medical System, governmental entities, and quasi-governmental entities. And the last mandatory change is that it requires disclosure of certain attributable or imputable business interests. If a business that a covered employee or official owns, that they must disclose their relationship in that business. If that business owns a certain percentage or is a certain stakeholder in other businesses, those affiliated businesses must be disclosed as all. As I said, those are all mandatory changes. There are additionally a few housekeeping changes in this ordinance. We are adding members of the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee to the list of covered positions, members of which must file a financial disclosure for, as well as the recently created position of Deputy County Administrator. All changes to the St. Mary's County Ethics Ordinance must go before the State Ethics Commission for review for legal sufficiency and approval. Our local Ethics Commission voted in April of 2022 to approve these changes to the ordinance. We heard back from the State Ethics Commission at its next regular quarterly meeting where it was able to take up review, and on September 16th learned that the State Ethics Commission approved each of the changes in this proposed ordinance. The request now is for the county commissioners to implement this ordinance, which requires a public hearing. The date tentatively has been set, if the commissioners choose to move forward, for October 25th at a time of the commissioners' choosing, morning or evening. If we go forward with October 25th, the comment period would close on November 1st at 11:59 p.m., which would set us up for a final decision on November 15th, the next regular meeting of the county commissioners after the close of the public comment period.
Oh, sorry. Go finish.
I was just going to say that is the sum of my presentation. If there are any questions, happy to field them. Or
just refresh my memory, the requirements for advertising a public hearing is 2 times in the newspaper. And if we were able to get it in this week's newspaper and the following weeks, could we do the public hearing the same night as our public forum? And that way just have it in an evening public hearing right before the public forum?
We would not be able to. The minute we could do it if it's Commissioner Colvin, you are correct that we're required to do it 2 successive weeks in the newspaper. But the first of those days must run at least 15 days prior to the public hearing. And the public hearing on the 18th, we would not be able to meet that deadline. Though we are going to be able to get the ad run, if approved today, in this Friday's edition of the Southern Maryland News, which would mean we can meet our notice requirements for the 25th, would be the soonest available date we could go forward on.
Tell me, how does this change what we're already doing? I mean, it seems like we already have these requirements for the most part.
We have a lot, and my understanding is that this was a state-level change. We don't really have much choice or opinion to voice on this one. The State Ethics Commission sets certain, or the state legislature sets certain minimum requirements we must meet. We have to have that language, whether it's particularly applicable to us, whatever our personal feelings about it might be. My understanding, and I'm not going to profess to be an expert on what was going on, but that on 2021 there was a great deal of questions raised over certain dealings between the University of Maryland medical system and members of its board, and that much of this legislation was a statewide reaction to that controversy. So we are
so this may have been something outside of what happened in St. Mary's County.
Correct. This is a state-level change that all 24 jurisdictions have to follow. There's nothing particular or unique to St. Mary's County about these required changes, except the certain positions we are added to our mandatory list of disclosures. As far as radical changes to the way the Ethics Commission or the way the Ethics Ordinance will operate, as far as St. Mary's County, I do not perceive any. I would happily punt that question, though, to either Mr. Willenborg or Mr. Densford, rather than give my opining on it.
I think I do recall that with the University of Maryland. It was dealing with the hiring and or appointment of individuals, and then there was letters that were not released in reference to resignation and appointments. I recall something related to that. I can't remember the particular individual, but I do remember it was very high profile. So I'm guessing that's exactly what this stemmed from.
There were, not to go too far afield and maybe tactfully and gracefully just summarize that there were many, many allegations of self-dealing from members of the board and entities the UMMS did business with that the General Assembly took seriously in 2021, and we could perhaps leave it at that.
Were you looking for an evening? Is that what you?
I didn't know if it needed to be.
now.
Yeah, but it sounds like this could be
It's
daytime.
more of a state change, yeah.
All right, well, I move to authorize the Office of the County Attorney to schedule a morning public hearing on October 25th, 2022, at a time to be determined for the proposed revisions to the St. Mary's County Public Ethics Ordinance.
Second.
If we could, I believe, just in the motion, if I could, Commissioner O'Connor, if we're going with a time to be determined, if we could specify that, be it in the morning or evening.
I said morning, but the reason I went a time to be determined was because as to where it is placed on the agenda. So,
Understood. Pardon me, Commissioner.
No, you're good.
I have a first and second.
Aye.
Do I have an approval? Aye. Aye. Any disapprovals? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Next, we go right into County Administrator time.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy. And we'll start off with the draft agendas for October 18th and October 25th. There will be no meeting on October 11th. On the 18th, you'll start at your normal time and place with the invocation and pledge by Commissioner O'Connor, and then you will have 5 proclamations, one for Red Ribbon Week Health Department, Red Ribbon Week Young Marines, Ace Angels, Economic Development Week, and National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And then you'll have a 9:20 presentation from the Department of Human Resources for American Disabilities Awareness Awards. That has been moved. Then County Administrator time, Commissioner time, you'll adjourn, and then you'll come back at 6:30 for your public forum. October 25th, we'll start at your normal time and place with the invocation and pledge by Commissioner Morgan, followed by the public hearing in the morning for the St. Mary's County Public Ethics Ordinance revisions, followed by County Administrator time and Commissioner time. And starting today, you will have the Sheriff's Office for the fiscal year 2023 Edward J. Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grants with Interim Assistant Sheriff David Yangling and Lottie Bell presenting.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. In this grant application, the Sheriff's Office is requesting $94,000 in federal funding to support its Police Executive Research Forum Integrating Communication Assessment and Tactics Training Initiative. There is no required match for this grant. This grant is included in the Sheriff's FY23 budget at a lesser amount, so a budget amendment would be needed at the award stage. If you have any specific questions regarding this initiative, I'm sure Captain Yingling will gladly answer.
Gladly.
Why don't you explain it to us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to call it ICAT to take a lot of the words out of the vernacular. So ICAT is a training that deals with integrating the communications assessment and tactics involved in a police encounter with emotionally disturbed people or people in crisis. If you look at police shootings around the country, police shoot and kill about 1,000 people a year. 90+% of them are very black and white, very clearly cut, justified. You get another percentage of those that are what we term lawful but awful. The tactics that the officers used, poor communication and getting into situations, officers on the scenes did not know exactly what was going on into that situation where there was a extraordinarily bad outcome. Those are the ones where that we see on the news. We see people out protesting. And so our goal is to incorporate that entire training program, which is about 20 hours of training, into our entire organization. It's very timely in that the legislature changed the use of force standard in the state of Maryland from objectively reasonable to necessary and proportional. They didn't really define it, but it gives us an option to use this integrated training. So the training encompasses classroom instruction, case studies of actual examples of dealing with people in crisis, and then role-play scenarios. We have a number of trained ICAT instructors in our organization, but we do not have sufficient to do this. So what this will allow us to do is contract PERF to bring in subject matter experts to augment our instructor cadre so that we can help facilitating this across the entire spectrum for all law enforcement officers.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve the SFY 2023 Edward J. Byrne Memorial Justice Grant application through the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, Youth and Victim Services in the amount of $94,000 for the support of the Sheriff's Office Integrating Communication Assessment and Tactics ICAT Training Initiative, and authorize Commissioner, President, Sheriff, and staff to execute the related documents and submit electronically.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, from the Department of Public Works and Transportation, is the acceptance of 3 roads into the county roadways network. Director Jim Gotch presenting.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, we're proposing to bring 3 roads into the county network, and 2 of them are at Laurel Preserve. The third is Carpenter Lane up in Charlotte Hall. The first road is Festoon Court. We came to you earlier this year and brought in the roadway. This is the cul-de-sac bubble at the end of the roadway. So for this roadway, there's no need for a speed limit or a stop sign ordinance. So there's a resolution that would need to be signed for bringing the cul-de-sac in, and that's the only thing on this particular roadway. The second roadway is also at Laurel Preserve. It's on the north part of the subdivision, and it is the entire length of Laurel's, I think it's Laurel Circle. And it has stop signs at both ends of the road, so the road is like a horseshoe and comes out onto Laurel Grove twice. So there's 2 stop signs. We're requesting a stop sign ordinance, and we're also requesting the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit ordinance as well. And then the third road we're requesting is in Charlotte Hall. It's Carpenter Lane. This one is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. Usually we come in as a public works agreement, so the road is from the start basically determined to be a county road. This one was a private road at the original conception. So what we did is inspection of the roadway, testing of the roadway. We did core samples to make sure that it was built to county standards. We requested some improvements of the roadway and the storm drain systems. When we inspected the storm drain pipes, we required lining of the concrete pipes. So there's a material that lines the inside of the pipe just to make sure, basically improve the longevity of the pipe system. And then the road was constructed to county standards, and then at the end, there was actually an additional 1.5-inch pavement overtopping for the roadway. So it's basically, we're taking it a brand-new road is what we would be doing.
Who did all those improvements?
That was, the company is Charlotte Hall Center, Inc., Mike Burrows.
Okay, so he did bring it.
Right.
Because, we've had this situation over there at Jones Wharf Road, at the entrance to Jones Wharf Road, where they're trying to get 200 feet accepted into the county. It's where Jones Wharf Road meets that road that goes, and what's always been an issue for this commissioner is we've allowed 39 houses to be built back there without a private road maintenance agreement. So I'd like to see something like that done for, something like this done for Jones Wharf Road.
Okay.
Because it's I know it's a different road, but that's been sitting out there for a long time. They can't get a stop sign. There's some traffic safety issues there. All right, thank you.
Okay, I'll look into that. This, on this property, there was a subdivision plat that was prepared, and the road, basically the road right-of-way has been donated to the commissioners, so we own the road right-of-way. This would be taking ownership of the actual road itself, the pavement maintenance. And so, oh yeah, this one has a stop sign. I don't think it's a stop sign, it's a speed limit.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, and a stop sign as well. And this is the entire length of the roadway.
I move to adopt a resolution to accept the cul-de-sac on Festoon Court into the St. Mary's County Highway Maintenance System.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I move to adopt a resolution to accept Old Laurel Circle with the St. Mary's County Highway Maintenance System and to adopt the ordinance setting a maximum speed and establishing stop intersections for the road of Laurel Preserve North subdivision.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Move to adopt a resolution to accept Carpenter Lane into the St. Mary's County Highway Maintenance System and to adopt the ordinance setting a maximum speed and establishing stop intersection for that road of Charlotte Hall Industrial Subdivision.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yosh.
Thank you. And next up from the Department of Emergency Services is the fiscal financial year 2022 State Homeland Security Grant. Director Steve Walker presenting.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This is a grant that comes to you every year, comes to us, State Homeland Security Grant. We've been awarded this year $100,582. You have our spending plan that has been approved, and I'm coming to you asking you to accept this grant. There is a list of some of the projects.
I move to approve the FFY 2022 subrecipient agreement for the State Homeland Security Grant, Project US 2320 from the Department of Homeland Security on behalf of Emergency Services Department in the amount of $100,582 and authorize the Commission President to execute the related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy, and that concludes the County Administrator time.
Okay, we move right into Commissioner time. We'll start with Commissioner Hewitt.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, been a busy week. Hurricane Ian is upon us, or hopefully he's making his way out. Lord knows we'll be glad to see him go. I did speak with somebody yesterday who does road construction, and he said he was actually glad to get all this rain. He said what it does is it allows them, we hadn't had any in a while or any real substantial amount of rain, and he said it allows everything to settle and it actually gives us better road projects. And that person is working on FDR Boulevard, which is hopefully, he said he's on time and it looks good and hopefully be done soon, at least through Hewitt Road from Chances Run Road. So that's good news. Attended the Osprey Gala on Friday night, put on by the St. Clements 100 and the 7th District Optimist Club. Great affair, a lot of people. Big shout out to Tony Sinclair and Dee Copel, the hosts for that, and the great work that they do. What I thought was very interesting was the generosity of all the people who showed up. The last event, the last part of the auction, I should say, the last item, was people who wanted to donate to a special needs vehicle. Mr. Sinclair talked about he has a son who hasn't been able to visit the island, St. Clements Island, and Tony Joe is very active on that island. And his son, J.W., has he's physically impaired. Point is that they had different levels of $2,000 givers, $1,000, $500, $250, $100, and they collected over $35,000 for a special vehicle to take people like JW on the island. It was a great outpouring of support and makes you glad to be in St. Mary's County and glad to see people doing that kind of support. The Blessing of the Fleet was canceled this weekend, and that's too bad. We're looking forward to it. It's an annual event, but look, it was a good move given all the rain, the wind. It just would not have been a good day. Last thing I'd like to talk about is last week we had Maryland State Highway Administration come down and they gave us their road show, as it's been called years past. And we asked questions about different things and did ask about suicide prevention on the Thomas Johnson Bridge. Well, I did get an answer back from Matt Morgan, Delegate Morgan, who said he had spoken with them, and part of the issue with that bridge, why they don't want to put barriers up to prevent people from jumping over, is because it has to be inspected yearly, and this could somehow influence the ability to inspect the bridge. But what he said that I thought was very interesting, because as you know, when you go on the bridge for the first parts of it up and when it goes over land, they have fencing, which is probably about 8-foot tall chain link fence. And my thought process was, why don't you just continue that all the way across? Well, at the higher levels of the bridge, that bridge is something like 130 feet tall, the wind resistance that would be caused by putting up a chain link fence, because there is wind resistance, could compromise the piers and could compromise the safety of the bridge. So they did forward us a copy of the study. Did read it. It was very interesting reading. There was also a cost factor identified, but the part about making the bridge potentially unsafe by adding that wind shear that high up was an interesting point. So I just wanted to pass that on. Other than that, been a great week. Hope you had a great week. Thank you.
Eric.
Very good. I want to echo Commissioner Hewitt's comments about the Osprey Gala. It was a wonderful time. The St. Clements 100 put on a really good fundraiser, and it was a shame that the Blessing of the Fleet had to be canceled because there's so much work that goes into planning and preparation for that. But it was the right call to make, and look forward to an even better one next year. And it's just it's a great time out there. And so next year, if you've never been, especially, you should really make a point to go out and check out the island, and the Blessing of the Fleet's a good time. We're in the middle of election season, so I'm going to touch on it briefly. The League of Women Voters, the NAACP, the Center for the Study of Democracy, and our libraries host candidate forums, and they had one last night. I was scheduled to participate in it, but because of some Zoom issues, wasn't able to, so be participating in the following week, or next week on Wednesday. Tune into those. If you haven't, you can go back and watch them. To be an educated voter, it's important, but the issues, the technology issues that they've had, I've already reached out to Michael Blackwell at the library and talked about what can we do to help the library to ensure ensure that they have the technology that they need. And he told me that they had put in for a state grant to help upgrade the technology in Lexington Park Library and Charlotte Hall Library, but they were not awarded that grant, so they're still working on getting those upgrades that they need. And hopefully we'll be able to help them out with that if necessary. Columbus Day weekend is coming up. I hope you have a great weekend. And to end on a fun note, today is National Taco Day, so enjoy your Taco Tuesday. Thank you.
John.
I was going to talk about Taco Tuesday.
There you go.
And National Taco Day. But you got me. But visit one of our local restaurants that is serving tacos and Mexican and all the great food right in Leonardtown. Salsas, amazing food. Go down there and pay them a visit. Attend an event, a truly amazing event, the centennial of Crane Highway, the centennial anniversary of the roadway. I thought it was and I would say when the monument was actually dedicated, because the monument actually went up prior to construction. Mr. Crane in 1908 started his advocacy, and it wasn't until 1922 that he got the state legislature to act on a roadway that would connect St. Mary's County, essentially, or as they would say, the southern Maryland, put it that way, to Baltimore City for a commerce route. And today, as we look at the roadway, it's connecting communities, churches, families, our friends, and unique experience, because as a representative of St. Mary's County, there was a photo that was taken 100 years ago that had a representative from each county that was participating in this. And the mayor of Upper Marlboro, Mayor Franklin, and her staff took the initiative to recreate that photo. And there was probably about 1,000 people there. And down to the minor detail of her son in the tree wearing a hat that was similar to the boy that was in the tree in the photo. So it was really great. All the county flags were there. Secretary reports, of course, Department of Transportation. There was mayors from throughout the Prince George's County that were there and representing each significant value that each county added to this roadway that has now turned into a commerce superhighway, so to speak. Interesting enough, part of the history that was there when they were having this, there was a book in 1938. They said that by now, in 2022, we would have flying wing cars that were powered by nuclear energy. We would have self-driving cars with sonar, which has actually come to fruition. And we touched on the various different progress in society, but mostly how these roadways connect us. So it was truly an honor to represent the people of St. Mary's County and the commissioners of St. Mary's County in a photo that I definitely won't be around to see if they try to recreate in another 100 years. But they are going to get us a copy of it. I appreciate staff giving me some points on that, and hopefully when the mayor gets it together, we'll be able to provide a copy to Ms. Casas and the county administrator here. And they all did send their thanks to the commissioners for their support of this endeavor. And just truly an honor. So if you get a chance to look it up, check it out. The monument's there in Upper Marlboro, and it is holding strong. And they just had to do a few repairs after that earthquake many years ago. But either way, thank you.
Todd.
Good morning, everyone. Also, Osprey Gala, great event, great time. Good to see everybody out there. It was a sold-out event. People with a waiting list, so I'm sorry, but next year, got to get there early. Sunday, had the opportunity to go to the NAACP Jazz Brunch. Ironically, it was their 75th anniversary also, which simultaneously remember how many years we've also had the county fair. I want to congratulate Renee Dyson, Mike Brown from the UCAC, Daryl Hemman from Merrill Lynch Boxing Center, and Church of the Ascension got 2 awards for the recognition of the things that they're doing in support of the community. Last but not least, Wellness Month and Wellness Week. This is for everyone's interest, and even the county employees. There's a lot of work that goes on in the county to promote health and wellness. And opportunities galore for people to do things that are free for you, whether it be financial services, environmental knowledge, banking knowledge, et cetera. But guess what today has? They've got a back rub operation over there. And you can sign up for a free sit in a chair back massage. So at 11:45, I'm going next door and getting me my free 15-minute massage. So all you folks out there that are paying attention, please pay attention to the information that gets put in about wellness. It's good for you. It helps our insurance rates tremendously if we stay healthy. And with that, have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you very much. And capitalizing on this wellness thing, it's very important that all of us, it's not only our work that involved in here, but just our overall status in life. And I will say that my wife is pretty much a health nut. So she gets me up all the time. We walk 3 or 4 miles about every other day, work out a couple times in the gym every week. And it's all paying off. I mean, I feel very good about my health and trying to watch nutrition and everything else. It's a big effort sometimes, but for those of us who do that, I can assure you the quality of life is a lot better if you do work that out. The Osprey Gala was a great thing. I enjoyed it very much. And like I said, it was a sold-out event. Thank goodness, but it's too bad the Blessing of Fleet was canceled. But and the governor's supposed to come down Saturday morning, but it all got canceled. So it's too bad that all happened to us. And like I say, we're off Columbus Day, and for those of you who are going to be vacation, be careful on the road wherever you might go. At this time, I'm going to close the meeting, and I ask for a closed session to close the meeting.
I move to enter in a closed session to discuss personnel.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
In the closed session. Meeting over.